Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Lot to get into today, just kind of getting everyone up to speed about the assassination of our friend Charlie Kirk. And I am doing that alongside Blaze TV contributor Matthew Mausden, also actor and producer extraordinaire, along with, he's back on the show, he's causing trouble, Adam Johnson. Of course, you know him as the lectern guy, but he also is an author. Look, Adam, I'm telling you. No, go back to it, Stephen. Go back to it. That's the coolest picture ever.
It's great that we can laugh about it now.
I know.
Right? But there was a time.
Well, prison's over for him, so it's funny now. It's fine. And do you know who finds it the most comical? This guy right here, I think. He makes the most light out of it. So that's how I know that I can say things like that to you, Adam. But, okay, go back to it, Stephen. Go ahead. Adam's an author now.
I am.
They didn't want you to write this book.
They did not. They put a 5-year stipulation on writing a book, selling a book, to sharing my story. And so we spent 5 years spending our own money, going on podcasts, making sure the story was told. But since the pardon, I am allowed to actually sell my book. So the book is for sale.
So, and it's called Taking a Stand?
It is called Taking a Stand.
And where can people find it?
On my website, unlicenssedfurnituremovers.com.
You didn't think to get another website.
I feel like Norm Macdonald right now, like when he says, it's called Taking a Stand because he took the stand.
Well, I can't wait to read it. I'm really proud of you.
Well, I brought you, this is actually a first edition. It is a dark arc edition. These are actually not for sale to anyone. There are 25 of these in existence, and you have been such a ardent supporter and friend of mine. I wanted to make sure you got one of the first ones.
Thank you.
It's unedited, written in crayon, so...
I might not be able to make out all of it, but I'm sure what I'm able to read and see from the pictures will be great. No, in all seriousness, thank you, my friend. That means a lot. Make sure that you go support Adam with his book. Make sure to pick it up. They didn't want you to hear about it, so make sure that you read that. All right, so let's get into all of this. What's going on with Charlie? Obviously, there's a lot that you would hear if you're listening to left-wing media. If you're listening to, the Discord servers. They're going to tell you that this suspect was MAGA. Well, that's not the case at all. Now, remember, his name's Tyler Robinson. He's not cooperating with investigators. Official charges are going to be filed tomorrow. They also said, the FBI, that DNA was found at the crime scene that matches the suspect. And according to the Washington Post, he confessed in online messages saying, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this. I'm surrendering through a sheriff friend in a few moments. Thanks for all the good times and laughs." And the FBI is now also investigating leftist groups for possible ties to all of this, to this boy, to the assassination plot. And of course, as we all knew, when something like this happens, he had very far leftist ideologies, and he lived with his lover, who was a biological male who apparently was transitioning to a woman, so transgender. And it's just so interesting to hear CNN, Spencer Cox, the governor of Utah, was out there talking to them. And first of all, this clip doesn't show this, but did you guys hear Spencer Cox say that Charlie Kirk said some inflammatory things? So Charlie Kirk said some inflammatory things, and I'm like, you bastard. Spencer Cox and Charlie Kirk did not, they had a history, because Charlie Kirk had called him out for vetoing certain legislation that he should not have vetoed. And so to hear the governor, the Republican governor of Utah, say that Charlie Kirk said some inflammatory things, I was just like, I would love for you to tell me what those inflammatory things are. But I want to play for you Spencer Cox talking with Dana Bash yesterday. And you can see these leftists in real time, like, kind of spazzing out about the fact that this actually would be a radical leftist because they wanted so badly for it to not be. And it's just, you can see them like, but no, wait, we really don't want this to be the case, because that would mean that we might be culpable for all of the things that we've told them were true. Here's some of that.
You told the Wall Street Journal that it is, quote, very clear to us and to the investigators that this was a person who was deeply indoctrinated with leftist ideology. Can you elaborate on that and be more specific?
Well, sure. So that information comes from the people around him, from his family members and friends. That's how we got that information. Again, there's so much more that we're learning, and so much more that we will learn. There will be official charges will be filed on Tuesday, and there will be much more evidence and information available then.
Now, let's go to the next topic at hand, which they don't want to believe, which is, of course, this is another trans person who committed a very violent act. And they didn't want to believe that either. It was really not convenient for their narrative. Watch.
Well, some outlets are reporting that the suspect lived with a transgender partner. Is that accurate? And are investigators looking at this part of his life as a possible motivation?
Yes, definitely. And yes, I can confirm that. I know that has been reported, and that the FBI has confirmed that as well, that the roommate was a romantic partner, a male transitioning to female. I can say that he has been very cooperative. This partner has been incredibly cooperative, had no idea that this was happening, and is working with investigators right now.
And how is that relevant to the investigation when it comes to the motive?
How is that relevant to the investigation when it comes to motive? I don't know, Dana. Do you have two brain cells to rub together? Like, it would be completely obvious to anyone who's listening to the left continue today, this very moment, continue telling all of us that Charlie Kirk was a transphobic, homophobic, xenophobic, keyword here, racist. I mean, they're literally saying it right now. I don't know, Dana. I don't know. What does this have to do with motive or motivation? I mean, the mental gymnastics these people are doing to not have to admit what we already see in front of us is true is truly spectacular.
Well, the fact that it was written on the frigging bullets
might have a little bit to
I don't
do
know.
with it. Might be motivation.
Call me crazy.
Right. Well, you're not a true law enforcement official. You just played one on TV. What do you know?
I'm not an expert. What do I know? And by the way, all this bullshit, can we just say one thing? I hate to say, he's a gay man.
Right.
Like this kind of like this is another lie. It's like he's living with a man that's transitioning to a woman. So he's a gay guy. He's gay. It's okay. All right. Let's say it, because if you identify it, let's have the gay community come out and say we don't want anything to do with this. We don't agree with this.
Right.
I've had a handful of friends who have come out and spoken against this, but I think the fact of the matter is that it is a death cult. The LGBTQIA plus 2A community is a death cult. They cannot exist without coming after our youth and convincing them to also be a part of their group. And that is why Charlie was the target. And no one's talking about this. Charlie went after the hearts and minds of those that were captured in our schools with Marxist ideology from a very young age, and he recaptured their minds. He broke them free. He allowed them to understand that there is truth, there is morals, and that living our lives in a Christian way, in a way that serves our Lord and Savior, in a way that serves our community, is the right way to live. And that is why they took him out. Because if we recapture our youth, we recapture our country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can't have that.
No.
They don't want that. Their stronghold would be incredibly diminished. And to your point, Adam, I would just like to point out Turning Point USA and Andrew Colvett over there, Charlie's right-hand man, really, for many, many years. They confirmed that they have seen a huge surge in inquiries for new college chapters. They had immediately posted, if you're interested in bringing this to your college or to your high school, send an email here. They said they have over 37,000 inquiries for new chapters.
That sounds as much as ICE agents that have applied. We got to bump those numbers up.
But I mean, it was truly incredible. I wish I could pull up the tweet that Andrew had written, but to compare the amount of inquiries to the amount of campuses that they are already on, I mean, it was like astronomically higher than the amount of campuses that they're already on right now. So if they think that they somehow diminished Charlie's voice by doing this, they had the opposite effect.
No, I mean, it's been quite remarkable. And what else is remarkable that a lot of the left do not understand is when people are talking about Charlie Kirk, they talk about him as a faith leader. They don't talk him like the people on the right, the kids on the right, see him as a faith leader, as like an older brother. They don't see him as a political figure. And I think that, again, it's exposed the intolerant left, right? He was the best of us. I've said this over and over. We could all have people point the finger at us and say that, you know, we're this and we're that. But it's very, very difficult to do that to Charlie Kirk because he was such a good person. And by the way, Look, we've said this about the radicals in Islam, and we are now saying this about the radicals in the LGBTQ, whatever, like alphabet movement. If you do not identify them, then you cannot deal with it. Mm-hmm. And then if you can't deal with those elements, right, then everyone gets lumped in together. So it's actually up to the people in that community as well to come out and be vociferous and say, we don't want anything to do with this. And like you said, there's actually been a lot of gays that have come out and gone, hang on a second, like, no.
Right.
But there's a shaming that comes with that if you step off the reservation, if you want to be outside of the norm of what you are told that the left is, they put you in that group and you cannot step out of it. Mm-hmm. And it's the same for Muslims who are peaceful. They don't feel like they can speak out against the radicals. This all has to change. It has to change because if we do not identify the problem, we can't solve it.
Yeah. All right. Let's get back into this conversation, jump back in. I do have to take a quick break here, though, and thank our sponsor who helps us keep the lights on. That is, of course, Birch Gold. So listen, those of you who understand the importance of diversifying may already know this, but if you are not yet diversified into any sort of gold and silver, might I just tell you, it's, if maybe it's a hedge against inflation, maybe it's peace of mind during global instability. It's just sensible diversification. Birch Gold Group can help you do that. They believe every American should own physical gold. And so they created something really special that's going on right now until September 30th. If you are a first-time gold buyer, they're going to offer a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. If you are interested in claiming eligibility and to start the process, all you need to do is text my name, Sarah, to 989898. And again, there's no obligation. You're not signing a contract. You're just texting my name, which, by the way, has no H in it. SARA to 989898. They can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals of up to $10,000. Text my name, Sarah, to 989898. So another piece of what's happening with Charlie are a lot of these ghoulish people who are outing themselves as terrible people, and they're having consequences. And they'd like to call that free speech. It's not actually, it has nothing to do with free speech. You should dust off the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and you should figure out what it is that the First Amendment is actually about, because it's not, I can say whatever the hell I want on the internet and keep my job. And unfortunately, or fortunately, for a lot of leftists, they're finding that out today, that actually has nothing to do with freedom of speech. Like this former reporter with the Washington Post. She was an opinion columnist, but posted this right after Charlie's death, appearing to quote him, right? She has it in quotations. Black women do not have the brain processing power to be taken seriously. You have to go steal a white person's slot. And of course, she attributes that to Charlie Kirk. That's not, it's just that you've got to like misrepresent him in order to make him sound like he was this evil person, because that's not really what he said at all. Watch.
If we would have said that Joy Reid and Michelle Obama and Sheila Jackson Lee and Ketanji Brown Jackson were affirmative action picks, we would have been called the racist. But now they're coming out and they're saying it for us. They're coming out and they're saying, I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know. You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat serious.
So obviously he was talking about specific individuals who I think everyone at this table would agree, not a lot going on up there. And not to mention, they're saying it. I mean, you had Jasmine Crockett. I want to get to y'all's thoughts here, so let me just toss it to you really quickly. You have Jasmine Crockett, who has literally said, I told my first employer to hire me because I was a black woman.
Yeah, and
Show me the lie.
Yeah, by the way, they also took the slot from black people that deserved it. That's the other side of things, right? Yeah. There's a bunch of people now, and I know this. I've got a friend of mine who's Asian, and she's like, everyone now looks at me like I'm a DEI hire, and they don't think that I earned my spot. Yeah. And I'm like, and Asian female, like that's two. Right, that's two strikes against you, and it's again they're disingenuous. But here's the thing, Sarah, you get cancelled for having Christian views, like even the ones that are in your head that you don't express. Yeah. So they're coming out with this hate-filled ideology, and to be honest with you, for years and years and years, they got away with it.
Right.
They got away with it. But the fact is, And again, I keep saying about getting involved. The fact is that people now have got to a point where you're like, I'm not tolerating this. I want them fired. Right? Whereas before we'd be like, oh, whatever. Like, let live and let live. No.
I would be remiss to say, to not say that you were also a DEI because of your accent. We all know that's why you have an opportunity to speak here.
It's true, because I'm as dumb as a box of rocks.
But he sounds really smart.
I sound great.
Smart.
Anything he says, it just sounds smarter than me. It's amazing.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
I never sound that fancy when I'm banana. No, but it is true that these people, I'm just like, you know what? Around, find out. That's what time it is. That's exactly what time it is.
Well, they felt so emboldened to talk about these things for the past 8 years. They've called us, we take a look. They've called us Nazis. They've called us bigots, fascists. They've labeled us these things. They've radicalized people to come and shoot us. Like, we're talking like the pinnacle, the peaks of our movement. Trump, they shot him. Mm-hmm. They killed Charlie Kirk. They do mean to kill us. And their speech, while, I'm a free speech absolutionist, you cannot call for the murder of someone, not call for violence. And we saw this with Maxine Waters back during the Summer of Love. We saw this with the governors out in Washington when they took over an entire city. They mean these things. They say this is democracy in action. Get used to it.
Did you have free speech? Did you have free speech? No, you didn't. No, they didn't. They shut you up, and they were quite content for you to rot in jail for the rest of your life and not be with your family. This is who we're dealing with. And the problem is, Sarah, is we've let it go for too long.
When I was on federal probation, my federal probation officers told me I had to get permission to go travel to speak on podcasts. Tim Pool, your show, and they threatened me. They out loud threatened me, said, the quiet part out loud, we don't think it's a good idea for you to speak. That could be dangerous to your family. I flew anyway. I spoke anyway, because my family understands the mission. The cost is our lives. We understand that. But the mission is for our children's lives. The mission is for the future of America, for my grandchildren.
Yeah, you're right. Adam, tell everyone, I got to take another quick break here, and I appreciate you guys so much. Tell everyone where you can find the book before you got to go.
I have a book here. It's called Taking a Stand. It is my personal journey through January 6th. It is at unlicensed.furnituremovies.com.
That really is the website.
It really is, yeah.
I love it.
He's not joking, all right? But go to unlicenssedfurnituremovers.com. Did I get that right? And go.
That's it.
Go make sure to pick up a copy of the story that the U.S. government under the Joe Biden regime did not want you to hear. Taking a Stand by Adam Johnson. I appreciate both of you guys. And Adam, come back soon. All right, we were really stupid because I have a bourbon that I'm thanking right now, Craftco, and we weren't drinking it, and that's really dumb of us. Guys, I'm really sorry. I'm gonna give you a shot on your way out. Okay, this is really, really good American-made whiskey, and they've got a whole bunch of different flavors on their website. I prefer just give it to me straight up. I don't need the fancy flavors. I just want getting back to what bourbon was always supposed to be, American-made. All right, they partner with Folds of Honor. They're a really, really great sponsor of conservative causes that you believe in. I'll put it that way. You can buy them online, flyingacespirits.com. Use promo code BLAZE for free shipping. This is the easiest thing I'm going to tell you to do. Go buy whiskey from a really good company that loves America. flyingacespirits.com, promo code BLAZE. So with everything happening in the news last week, I think that this next story almost went totally unnoticed. There has been really bombshell new testimony about the harmful effects of vaccines in the childhood vaccination schedule. Now, this was during the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee hearing, the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. And the topic was how the corruption of science has impacted public perception and policies regarding vaccines. And when you talk about the topic of vaccines, what is the main criticism that you hear from all of these pro-vaccine people and entities? They would, of course, say, well, not only is there no proof, that's what they say, there's no proof that vaccines cause harm. You could show them proof, and then they say, but is that peer-reviewed? And then, of course, they would cite, but there's a lot of proof. They've done all the studies that show that vaccines are totally safe. Case closed, nothing more to see here. And then you start thinking, oh, well, I don't know. I've seen a couple different instances of proof actively getting covered up. There is proof that vaccines cause harm. It just gets covered up. And so it might surprise you that, perhaps studies of vaccinated versus unvaccinated kids weren't being carried out just so that the medical field would say there's no evidence. We have no evidence that the vaccine schedule isn't safe because, as it turns out, the handful of evidence that does exist with vaccinated versus unvaccinated, we want to totally bury so that nobody hears about it. I want to first welcome Aaron Siri, personal lawyer and close advisor to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who testified before the committee about this bombshell study carried out on vaccinated versus unvaccinated children. This is one of the only studies like this. I appreciate you being here, Aaron. I want to go through some of this, and then I want to get you to fill in any holes that I may have missed, okay? So this was carried out by the Henry Ford Health System between 2000 and 2006. It looked at the medical records of over 18,000 kids, 16,000 vaccinated, nearly 2,000 unvaccinated. And, hold on. As it turns out, according to Aaron and the others who have looked at all of this, wouldn't you believe what they actually found? Watch.
The study began by explaining it set out to reduce vaccine hesitancy by assuring parents the CDC vaccine schedule is safe. Instead, what these researchers found was that vaccinated children had 4.29 times the rate of asthma, 3.03 times the rate of atopic disease, 5.96 times the rate of autoimmune disease, and 5.53 times the rate of neurodevelopmental disorders, which included 3.28 times the rate of developmental delay and 4.47 times the rate of speech disorder. All of these findings were statistically significant. These findings were troubling, including because these chronic health issues can be caused by immune system dysregulation, and vaccines can cause immune system dysregulation. Citations for this are in my written submission. Overall, the study found that after 10 years, 17% of the unvaccinated children had a chronic health issue, while 57% of the vaccinated children had at least one chronic health issue, often multiple. That's 17 versus 57%.
I want to make sure it's worth repeating. 57% of the vaccinated children in the study had been diagnosed with one or more chronic health conditions. 17% of the unvaccinated children were diagnosed with the same. Now, I mean, rinse and repeat with the same leftist narrative. They're trying to, call Aaron out. Of course, we're all quacks and, crazy conspiracy, right-wing nut jobs, fill in the blank. It's like they have these little mad libs and they try to just fill out the same, article after article, the same type of, there's one. RFK Jr. allies, smoking gun study on vaccines and chronic illness is fundamentally flawed. I think we have a throw up the Guardian one. There you go. Rinse and repeat. U.S. vaccine hearing on unpublished study debates some same myths. And so anyone who says anything about the childhood vaccination schedule must be a total right-wing nut job. And I want to ask you, Aaron, again, Aaron Siri right here, can you tell the audience how much of a right-wing nut job you actually are?
Well, I do like eating nuts. I'm not. I might end there. I don't know. Look, it's as I actually detailed in my book that just came out called "Vaccines, Amen: The Religion of Vaccines." You can see right behind me. When it comes to vaccines, what you often get are emotional reactions from people of the kind you just described, right? Being name calling ad hominem. Does the substance get addressed? Not really. Mm-hmm. But that's what it often devolves into. You'll hear all the time people say, I believe in vaccines. And that really carries a truism. Nobody ever says, I believe in cars. I believe in chairs. I believe in floorboards. No, but they say that because a lot of what you hear about vaccines are based on actual belief. They're not based on the data. And here you have an instance of a study. Okay. Look, that article in Stat News, by the way, that you just put up there, yeah. You know who wrote that? Dr. Jake Scott, the witness at that hearing who you saw at the end of the table. He wrote that article before even seeing the study. He never read it. He hadn't seen it. It was introduced at the hearing. So he already knew it was fundamentally flawed, apparently. Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is that article only points out to only one issue. And he calls it ascertainment bias, meaning he thinks the vaccinated kids go to the doctors more, right, to get their shots, so they're more likely to get diagnosed. The study authors, all pro-vaccine, actually, they looked at exactly that issue in the study, And had he read my submission, which he could have, to the U.S. Senate, he could have seen how that was addressed. It was easily addressed. And if you might recall, if you watched that hearing, and he brought that argument up, and I addressed it. If you really look at his face, you could see he's like, uh-oh, because he'd already written that article with Stat News. That thing was going out, whether he liked it or not. And he now knew he's got egg on his face.
Right.
I mean, if you know anything about, if you read the study, you read my submission, you read the article, you're like, that's a ridiculous argument. But that's what they try to do. I mean, it's really unfortunate because this study actually used medical records.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was to your point, they actually conducted from 2018 to 2020, and they looked at the medical records from 2000 to 2016. 16 years worth of medical records, immunization records. This was not an estimate. This was not based on guesswork. This was based on hard data, but it doesn't fit the narrative. So, they have to attack it.
Which is kind of leads to my next question is that, I mean, that's the only conclusion I can draw as to why it was covered up.
Well, it covered up. Let's put it this way. It's what, in the process of doing a study, it's conducted. The authors can choose whether to submit it for publication. I just happened to have gotten a copy of it. Had I not gotten a copy of it, it would have ended up where all the studies like it probably end up, which is just stuffed in a drawer. Mm-hmm. You can call it a cover-up, or we could call it the way vaccine science, unfortunately, seems to typically work. The Institute of Medicine called for this type of study long ago. The CDC even conducted an entire white paper on how to do a vax versus unvax study, okay, using existing data. There's no ethical issue with that. So we've gone now 20 years, right? Do you think that they never did it? Or do you think they never did it and then published it? Most likely they never published it because it probably found the same thing this study found, because the very few other vax-unvax studies that are out there, done by Mawson and others, have very similar results. Now they're smaller, they're more easier to make criticisms on, but now at this point they're kind of consistent. They are consistent. They're all finding the same results. So I mean, if name calling was an issue, and you'll have Del on in a minute, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. That is exactly what they try to do to folks in this community. Yeah. And it's we can laugh about it, but there's also a serious side to it because, the countless families across this country who have a vaccine injured child or they themselves are injured, and everybody watching who's in that position knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's bad enough that they're injured by this product, but when they then go to the very medical community that injured them, they're often then have insult literally added to injury.
Yeah. No, I mean, it really is. It's so frustrating for those of us who have been in this fight for a long time, like you and like Del, who we are going to talk to in just a second. But I hear all the time these people throw out, oh, you're just in it for the money. Oh, you're just grifting and I'm like, buddy, if you think that there is more money in going against the science, I'm using air quotes, of course. If you think that there's more money in going against the machine, you are sorely mistaken, because all you do is have yourself discredited. You've got doctors who have had their licenses in jeopardy. I mean, there is nothing to be gained in going against the machine other than a clear conscience is everything that I've found, Aaron.
Let's put it this way. For my 100-plus person law firm, if I wanted to make more money, I'd be representing pharma.
Right, right.
It's the easy answer. I mean, let's see. They make billions of dollars a year on this product every year. The federal health agencies put out billions of dollars in grants and funding towards it. So does on the state health agency level. In fact, every single bit of moneyed interest when it comes to these products all comes in one direction, okay? Mm-hmm. And there's no real pushback. I mean, that's the problem here of the 1986 Act. I don't know how much your audience knows about.
Oh yeah, we talk about it all the time.
Okay, well, yeah. So I mean, it's rich. It's rich and ironic, but that's okay. I mean, let me put it this way: people are waking up. Yeah. People are learning the truth. The very existence of this U.S. Senate hearing is a testament to that fact. And the book that I wrote it exactly that purpose. I wrote the book because I wanted to have there's a lot of people who have a personal experience, so they know it in their heart. They know it from their personal experience, what happened to them. Mm-hmm. But it's one thing to have that personal experience. It's also another thing to have the knowledge to be able to push back substantively against the vaccine zealots, so to speak, and be able to say, no, you're wrong. And here's the evidence. Here are the facts. And that's my hope. And that's my goal with this book, is to arm as many folks as possible with the knowledge so they can, to whatever, abilities they have, argue on this topic, similar to the way they see Del do it, or I do it, or others do it, because we've spent the time to research this. But now you don't have to spend the endless amount of hours doing it. It's been distilled down into one, hopefully easy enough to read book.
Yes. Yeah. And I appreciate you doing that. There are so many people who reach out to me and they're like, what? I'm about to have a baby. What should I read? What should I consume? What do I need to know? And this is one of several, of just a few, very few books that I can recommend to all of these people who are coming to me asking me, where should I get my information? So I appreciate all of your great work, sir. Please keep fighting. We're championing you from the sidelines. Aaron Siri, he is the managing partner of Siri and Glimstad Law Firm, and of course the author of Vaccines, Amen, The Religion of Vaccines. I encourage every single one of you to go pick up that book right now. Thank you, Aaron, so much.
Thank you so much and thank you for covering this important topic. Thank you.
Yes, of course. Before I bring on Del, I can't wait to talk to him about this as well. I want to go ahead and play a trailer for Del's latest documentary coming out about just this topic, October 3rd. Here's a look.
What is happening? Chronic disease has gone from 12.8% in our children in the 1980s to over 54% of our kids now. That's the greatest decline in human health that's ever been recorded. And people will say, how do you know it's not the pesticides sprayed all over our crops, or the hormones in our beef, or plastics, or forever chemicals? But when we're talking about an autoimmune disease crisis, which is what's happening in America, shouldn't we look closest at the one product that's designed to alter our immune system for life? And we don't just inject it one time or 2 times or 10 times or 15 times or 20 times or 50 times. 72 times we are altering the immune system of our children with our vaccine program. There'd be one easy study to rule it out: compare vaccinated children to completely unvaccinated children. But we don't know because they've never done the study.
Joining me now, Del Bigtree, one of my personal heroes. He's the CEO of Informed Consent Action Network and the host of The High Wire. Thank you for being here, Del. Obviously, we just heard from Aaron about this study, but I mean, tell me, Del, in your words. I hear this all the time. People are like, well, you can't do a vaccinated versus unvaccinated because that would be unethical, because we can't not vaccinate children. We would be putting them at risk for deadly diseases. And yet here we are. The studies are done. They just either discredit them or dump them.
You know, Sarah, it's a really great point. And there's 2 issues around this. Number one, it's now becoming obvious that they've never done a randomized controlled placebo-based trial prior to licensure. That's all but been conceded now. And so we never established safety, meaning we never proved that vaccines were as safety as a saline injection as every other pharmaceutical product would have had to. So now you're left with products we have no idea what the safety is. And that's what's so interesting about this study. You know, when I first met Dr. Marcus Zervos that ran this study, it was all the way back in 2016 when I was traveling with the documentary Vax that I'd made. I had dinner with him, a mutual friend set it up. And you know what he said to me? He said, you know, I've been seeing videos of you, Del, online, and you're saying something that really bothers me. You've been saying that we never did the proper safety studies, so we can't scientifically say that vaccines are safe. And he said, so I sit on the biggest databases in the world. Of course, now we know it's Henry Ford Medical System and all that it plugs into. And he said, and I read up on all the studies that have ever been done. And you know what he said to me? I am shocked that I have to sit across from you and tell you you're right. We have never done safety trials on any of the vaccines. That's how this conversation began. And then he said, but I don't know what I can do about it. You know, he said, I'm pro-vaccine. I believe in the vaccine program. Just because we haven't done safety studies doesn't mean they're not safe. It just means we can't say they're safe, you know? And so I said, I agree with you. I haven't said anything but this. Like, no, you've been very, clear with your words. So I spent years on that relationship, and I said, why don't you do a vaccinated versus unvaccinated comparative study retrospectively? Because you're right, it's unethical to deny a group of people a product that exists. We don't want to go through the Tuskegee experiment, which is what they sort of relate all this to. But you can do a retrospective study of people that already made their choices, and that's what Ford Medical Center did. They found nearly 20,000 children, almost 2,000 of them are unvaccinated, which means you had a large enough group in both sides to do a statistically powered study. And so that's all they did. They compared the vaccinated to those that were completely unvaccinated. And what you see is just a shocking, alarming rebuke, essentially, of the vaccine program. And it's being done, as Aaron pointed out recently, by a company in Henry Ford Medical Center, by a scientist in Dr. Marcus Zervos, that are pro-vaccine. They're doing the study to prove us wrong, and instead they get these alarming results, which, as I think you're aware, now we know why we've never seen one of these studies. And I keep saying this, Aaron's a little bit nicer about it. I was like, have they done the study? I'm telling you, as a journalist with blood moving through my veins, had they ever just done something about this? Are we saying the CDC and the FDA and the NIH never thought to compare vaccinated children to completely unvaccinated children? And then it comes out and the vaccinated are healthier, they have less ADD, ADHD, they have less asthma, less autism. Do you realize that I wouldn't be here. You wouldn't know who Del Bigtree is. You certainly wouldn't see Robert Kennedy Jr. as HHS secretary if all they did was just compare these two groups of children and said, see, the vaccinated are healthier. I mean, it's that simple. If it was that simple, you have to know they've done this study every way sideways, 1,000 times probably, to try to figure out how to make the vaccinated look healthier. Because if they could, it would be the biggest headline in every newspaper in the world. Why then is it so hard for every doctor, every scientist, every establishment in the world to produce a study that shows the vaccinated are healthier? They can't do it compared to completely unvaccinated. Now, they do fake studies. Right. They do vaccinated to mostly vaccinated, or, this vaccine to that vaccine, but never vaccinated to completely unvaccinated. And that's what makes this study so special. As Aaron says, private groups have done it, smaller groups, homeschool studies, things like that. But they always say, oh, it's too small, you can't count on it. Oh, we think the scientist was biased. Well, this gets rid of both of those problems. It is a huge study by pro-vaxxers, and the results, as you're pointing out, are so shocking. 57% have chronic disease that were in the vaccinated category. That happens to be almost the exact statistic of a chronic disease in America right now. Robert Kennedy Jr. saying children are about 57%, 54 to 57% chronic disease. By the time you're an adult, that becomes 76.4% of adults in America now have permanent chronic disease. That is unnatural. We don't see any other nation going through that as badly as we are. And let me make it this point. We don't see another mammal on Earth that suddenly has immune systems that's turning on them. They're swimming in toxic oceans. They're breathing toxic air or whatever would be affecting species on this planet. Why is our species de-evolving? We're regressing. We're losing our ability to walk and be healthy. Something is attacking us. Something is poisoning us. And when you look at this study, 57%, almost the exact number of our chronic illness number. There are certainly other things involved, but I think this is the smoking gun, and it's clear. And let me make one more point to everyone that's trying to say, well, you can't trust this science. It was, they didn't do the science right. Well, then why didn't they fix it? Why didn't they do the science right? They're Henry Ford Medical Center. This is your opportunity. We now have a study comparing these two groups. If you think for some reason the head of infectious disease, Dr. Marcus Zervos, the guy that exposed the entire Flint, Michigan water crisis and did all the science behind that, your number one lead investigator on the Moderna vaccine, he ran the Moderna vaccine trials. He's pro-vaccine. So he didn't know how to do this study. Well, then why didn't you talk to him? Why didn't you make adjustments to that study? Why don't we see an adjusted study that was fixed? That's what science is supposed to do. When you shelve it, when you hide it away and you won't go near it, then we know what's really going on here. And we know why no one in the world in mainstream medicine has ever been able to show us a vax versus unvax study. Because as Aaron says, we are seeing a trend, and that trend is alarming. 40%, 400% risk rise in asthma, nearly 5 to 6 times the rate of neurodevelopment disorders. I mean, this is a tragedy. The conclusion of the study shows that you are 2.5 times more likely, not percent, not 20%, 250% more likely to have a chronic disease if you're vaccinated compared to if you were not.
I mean, it really is. It's a crisis. It is a crisis in this country. And I'll leave you with this, Del. I'll let you respond to this really briefly. During the COVID pandemic, and I'll just, use that with some air quotes here, we heard from the same people I believe who are going to tell you that you're crazy, that you're taking things out of context, that you're making stuff up, that you're manipulating data. When this comes out, the same people who are going to say this to you will be the people who wore the masks that we never had confirmation worked, who told you if you didn't wear a mask, you were going to kill grandma. But all of a sudden, you put real science, actual science right in front of their eyeballs, and they are going to tell you that you are wrong. And it's just, it's very scary to me because I'm like, how the hell did we get here? And what do we do to finally, you have transformed so many people, and I'm so, so happy about that. But there seems to be a certain percentage, a subset of society who it doesn't matter how much truth you bring them. They're still going to say, I'm going to wear my mask, but I'm not going to believe the data that's right in front of my eyes.
I don't care. They're the minority now. We have changed gears. I mean, if you look at this now, mainstream media is dying. You represent the new media. The new media just won the election. For 24 hours a day, they told us that Donald Trump was the worst human on the planet. I was director of communications for Robert Kennedy Jr. 24 hours a day, mainstream media said he's dangerous to health. Mm-hmm. He's the worst health person in the world. He now sits in the most powerful position in health, and Donald Trump is president. That means legacy media had zero effect, maybe even a negative effect on this last election. So new media is the one telling the truth. And guess what? They know who to listen to. They know who told them that masks worked. They know who told them that 95% effective this vaccine would protect your neighbor. It stops with you. All baloney. They now know that when we question the science in Tony Fauci, that his 6-foot distancing rule was made up by who? Tony Fauci, not the science, not by experts. So we know we've been lied to by all of these newspapers that are talking about this study and all the same, mainstream pharma-funded entities and pharma itself. They are attacking Robert Kennedy Jr. Why? The guy is simply asking questions. Is the COVID vaccine really necessary for children? Is it doing more harm than good? Anyone with blood moving through their veins knows that that is the case. But Bobby's going to be on trial this Thursday, I believe, in the Senate. Again, they want to try and strip him of that position because we finally have someone that's not a shill, that is not working for pharma, asking the right questions. And he's been methodical. He's been slow for the anti-vaxxers. So what's taking so long, Bobby? They want him to erase vaccines from the program. He says that's not what he's there for. We're going to do the studies. We're going to do the science. We're going to be objective. Oh my God. What is wrong with that? And so as we sit here and watch these moments taking place, it should be alarming to everybody. Everybody whose doctor recommended a COVID vaccine and now knows you were wrong. Okay, doctors can be wrong. They're fallible. As Aaron's book puts it so clearly, these are not clergy. They are not like representing some God for you. They need to do new reading. They need to look at studies. They need to recognize that the leadership is funded by money, not by ideas. And so we need to get back to a place of humility in science and medicine, in transparency. So here's what I would say to anyone that has a problem with this study. We have a documentary coming out on October 3rd. It's going to reveal more than just this study. It's going to reveal that, ultimately how this study came together, who was behind it, what it actually means. But if you have a problem with this study, then do one yourself. Yeah. Why is our government needs to do vaccinated versus unvaccinated. Kaiser Health should take all of its data and compare their vaccinated to their unvaccinated. Every health system in the world, Ford Medical, then do it. Show us your vax versus unvax study that's done correctly, but stop telling us it can't be done, or it has been done, but we can't see it, or there's something wrong with it, but we won't tell you. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a way science is done, and this is not it. It is not attacking everyone that, has a different perspective and provides a study. And I will say this, I keep saying this to every journalist out there, stop putting your experts against our printed science. We have peer-reviewed science. We're showing you studies inside of Ford Medical Center. We have Stanley Plotkin on the stand under oath admitting that they haven't proven that certain vaccines don't cause autism. We have Catherine Edwards on the stand under oath. We keep providing evidence, but the mainstream media keeps allowing experts' opinion to override evidence. That, and I just said this recently to a Wall Street Journal reporter. She says, they say what you're saying is religious. I was like, I show evidence to everything we've done. We are completely transparent. Where is your evidence? And by the way, this hearing, this Dr. Jake Scott, he said, oh, we've done the placebo trials, and Aaron tore apart. He said, I have 640 trials from around the world. None of them had anything to do with our childhood vaccines. This should be very simple. There's 16 vaccines on the schedule, given in 72 doses. Where are the 16 placebo-based trials that put those on the market prior to licensure? This is not brain surgery. I don't need 600. I don't need a mountain, a room full of paper. I need 16 that no one in medicine has been able to provide. That should bother everybody. Not just that it hasn't been done, but they continue to lie to you and say it has been.
And I know we gotta take a break here, Del, but I would just add to that, which well said, nobody can say it quite as well as you can, but I would just add to that not only do you not have those studies with a true placebo, you also don't have a study that shows they want you to take 8 in one day. You don't have any studies that show you're taking all of these at the same time. There's no study that shows that taking all of these at the same time is actually safe. None whatsoever. But the CDC has no problem recommending it for your tiny children. It is just, I'll go off for forever, so I won't get started.
And I know you got to get the commercial, but they've never, they have never, Institute of Medicine looked in this. They've never shown that 72 vaccines makes you healthier than none. None of these studies have ever been done. And they'll say, well, look, we have 50 years of using the vaccines. That's proof that they're safe. I was like, 50 years, in that same 50 years, we went from 12% chronic disease to 54% chronic disease. And you know what they'll say? Well, you can't blame that on vaccines. Like, well, hey, then you can't use the health of our population as proof that your product is working.
Exactly.
Because it's not. It's the greatest decline in human health ever recorded right here in the United States of America.
Yeah. Del, I appreciate you so much. Tell everyone where they can find this documentary and Inconvenient
just
Study
right now, you
3rd.
can sign up to be a part of our opening day screening on October 3rd. And inconvenientstudy.com. And inconvenientstudy.com.
Thank you so much for all of your great work, Del. You're an inspiration, my friend. Keep it up.
No doubt. You too.
Thank you. Talk soon. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hey, in case you missed it, which you probably did, the Emmys were on, and you're probably glad you didn't watch it because it included things like this.
I just want to say, finally, go Birds, ICE, and free Palestine. Thank you.
Nobody's watching that anymore. It's very self-congratulatory, but nobody's interested anymore. And you know what? It couldn't happen to a more deserving group of people. We'll see you guys tomorrow.